Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome everybody to Phoenix Down Radio, episode 197. I'm your host, Klauss Nightbringer, and joining me is Seyrr Timono. Seyrr, how are you today?
Oh, someone spilled a huge thing of Sprite in the men's bathroom.
Oh no.
I mean, it's the cleaner who mostly is going to have to deal with that, but
still,
it was a whole thing.
That sounds rather problematic.
Yeah.
And a waste of good Sprite.
Just library things. Yeah, also perfectly good Sprite tier.
So it's been a month since our last episode. What have you been up to in that time frame, my friend?
Maybe not surprising amount of ocean fishing. Got my Alo Island criterion clear and got the mount on the second attempt, so that was awesome.
In 14.
Yes.
I mean, you're not going out and chartering ocean voyages out in San Francisco, are you?
Can I even do that?
Why not?
I mean, I don't know how to fish, so this would be a very stupid vanity project, which, given the presence of Silicon Valley, they may actually be used to. But yeah, mostly a bunch of random game stuff, a lot of library stuff. I have finally laid the groundwork such that next month we will be starting the first few things of our anime club.
Ooh.
Which means that I am going to be getting paid for 2 hours per pay period to watch anime. And
wow,
I
nice.
guess supervise teens while they're watching anime as well.
Which one are you starting with?
I have an entire curated selection. Let's see.
All the ones with the best dogs, including Cowboy Bebop?
There is no way I could get away with Cowboy Bebop at the library, unfortunately.
That's a bummer, because that's such a good series.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely an amazing series, but we do have to be a little bit thoughtful about content. There's some of them where maybe we could skip over a particular problematic episode, but there's an entire season of Danmachi that we would need to skip due to the prominence of a brothel in the main storyline. So yeah, it's an alternating schedule, but we've got Laid Back Camp, Spy Family, Record of Lodos War, and Kaguya-sama Love is War in the mix for the first one.
Okay.
So a mix of nice cozy stuff, action-y stuff, a little bit of teen rom-com later on in there for the older teens who are going to be sticking around later. Should be fun.
Aurori suggests Fruits Basket.
That could actually work really well, and I'm going to need some stuff for when we finish the first series. So.
It is a good series. It's pretty tame, but it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've seen it. It gets a little emotionally dark later on, but I think it could work really well. I might put that in the later afternoon slot when we need something to swap in.
I might suggest The Devil is a Part-Timer.
I don't actually know that one. I'll have to give that a look. That is one of the things, anything we plan to screen, I do need to watch just as a general content check.
and then I suggest One Piece. In its entirety.
No. You are not the first person, and no. I want to retire someday.
No. Because you're never going to catch up.
If we devoted just to watching that and nothing else, I think it would take about 11 years right now.
There's over 1,000 episodes. I think over 1,100 now, maybe.
And we'd be doing 8 episodes a month. So yes, it would be over 11 years, at which point there would be more episodes.
Exactly.
I do want to retire someday.
Well, I mean, this is giving you, what's the word I want here? Job security.
I don't know how my managers would feel about this.
What, the fact that you're giving yourself, 15 years of this project?
Other people need to like it too. I need to have an actual audience. It can't just be me sitting in a darkened community room watching One Piece. I am pretty sure the union is not going to back me up if I do that.
Well, it was worth a shot.
No, it wasn't.
Well, depending on how problematic things can be, I mean, another one that's kind of short and fun is Furikuri. It's only 6 episodes. It's really crazy, but
yeah, some short one-shot things could work. I've got some lists of other stuff to consider and some things to try out. Like I could potentially have this running a long time. I just need to be slightly more thoughtful than putting on One Piece and calling it a day.
Well, go to Naruto then.
I said more thoughtful.
Hey, I mean, Naruto is, or at least the initial run of Naruto is done. And then there's Naruto Shippuden. And then there's Boruto.
Oh, Boruto's dad is in that one, isn't he? I have heard that it is pretty much the greatest thing ever to just consistently refer to Naruto as Boruto's dad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, lots of other library shenanigans. Couple incident reports. One of the teens slammed the door hard enough to break it, so oof. That's going to be a whole thing.
Lovely.
I'm so frustrated. We'll be discussing it a bit later on, but I pretty much haven't had time to do more than the barest touch of FF7 Rebirth.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that in our discussion topic here in a little bit.
So I pretty much just get home and it's like, I don't want to think. Trying to do a new thing is going to be overwhelming right now. Yeah,
I mean, for me, it's basically been a lot of work, taking care of Puppy. He's doing well, but we're trying to figure out why he's been kind of sick a couple of times. We're wondering if it's his heartworm medication that's he's allergic to or that's causing issues. But the only one benefit to it is he gets to eat chicken and rice because it's good for a sour tummy, and he loves chicken and rice. So, but
I mean, chicken and rice is a pretty solid food no matter who you are.
Yeah. But I mean, this chicken, you're not going to want to eat this chicken and rice. It's literally just basic rice and boiled chicken.
Okay. This will sustain life and do it in a not too displeasurable way, but yeah, that would get pretty boring pretty fast.
But he loves it. I mean, he mixed that with a little bit of kibble, and he's a happy boy. And then the reason why we haven't had an episode in a month was 2 weeks ago. My girlfriend and I were we're donating our time volunteering for One Bright Star again, and it was a lot of fun. We helped them raise a bunch of money for that organization. It's a really good organization that helps mothers who have lost children at various stages in their lives. So
nice.
Giving them an outlet to be able to grieve properly and kind of understand the process and what's going on next, and maybe how not to fear if you want to end up having it trying it again, because that can really be scary to a lot of women, a lot of families that have been trying for a while and continue to have stuff like that happen. So it's a really good organization. It's really fun. It's a good excuse to dress up all fancy. So that was kind of nice. That was fun. And then other than that, just a lot of work. But today I got to play a little bit of Rebirth, and we'll talk about that like we said at kind of towards during our discussion topic. But until then, we have a lot of news to talk about. But before we get to that, thank you so much to our Patreon producers, Nick Nar, Aurori, and Mika. We really do appreciate all your support. If you want to also support us in that way, you can go out to patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio and take a look at the different levels that we have out there. Anything even as little as $1 is enough to help us, keep things going and all that fun stuff. So thank you so much for those who support us out there. I want to start off with a little bit of some sad news. Yesterday we learned that famous manga author Akira Toriyama passed away at age 68. This article is coming from USA Today and was written by Thao Nguyen. So thank you so much for that. But Akira Toriyama passed away on March 1st due to a subdural hematoma. So that's kind of a sad thing. He is most well known for creating Dragon Ball and all the subsequent spin-offs, that Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, all that stuff. But it is a kind of a Final Fantasy adjacent news story, because he also was involved with the design of Chrono Trigger and the Dragon Quest series. So a lot of the characters from those games were designed initially by Toriyama-san. And if it hadn't been for Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy probably wouldn't even exist.
Yeah, the series were major influences on each other, lots of crossover fandom. Yeah, I hadn't seen the confirmed cause of death. I know that a subdural hematoma pretty much always means a head injury. So possibly given his age, I know a common thing is if you have a fall and then you have injuries that you get from that fall.
But
unfortunate.
It is sad, and it's one of those things where it really impacts a lot of people in the not only the manga and anime world, but in video games as well. And a lot of 14 players have started holding vigils in game in honor of Toriyama-san. This article comes from GameRant.com and was written by James Ratcliffe. Let me go ahead and copy paste that for you guys.
Yeah, if you remember the memorials they had when the author of Bleach passed away, where you had lots of people.
Not Bleach, it was Guts. Oh no, Berserk. Berserk. It was Berserk.
It was Berserk. Why did I think Bleach?
No, he's Bleach. The Bleach guy is still alive. It was Berserk.
Yeah, but I know where there's lots of people as a Dark Knight for that big two-handed sword kind. We're seeing this with the Toriyama memorials as well. Lots of cosplayers of Dragon Ball characters, Chrono Trigger characters. It's kind of fascinating to see the sales rates for some of the glamour pieces that are most used for those outfits.
What's funny to me is, his influence even went into emojis. I guess the poop emoji was based off of a character that he had created for his very first anime, Dr. Slump, or first manga, not anime, manga. But yeah.
The interesting thing I had found out was that apparently in Japanese sign language, the sign for Dragon Ball Z is a Kamehameha. Like you just do that motion to say Dragon Ball Z.
That's pretty funny.
Yep.
Oh. But it is very sad when somebody this influential dies relatively young. He was only 68 years old, so that's kind of sad to have somebody of his caliber and his influence to pass on. But I think he
60 is pretty close to your typical male life expectancy. It's so weird. It's so weird what we consider young and not young for this kind of thing, Yeah, I mean, it's still absolutely a tragedy, and there's someone that you never want to see go, and you never know how you're going to comprehend. It's just so interesting how we process all of it. These fixtures that have been you've got this in this that started as this kind of new thing that's really grown and matured, and the people have grown and matured with it. And we are reaching the point where some of those original titans in the field are reaching those end days. Yeah. It's kind of sobering to think about.
Yep. But
let's all ponder our mortality with Phoenix Down Radio.
I mean, it is something to think about, not to take, your day-to-day life for granted, and appreciate the things that you have out there. So,
yeah,
reach out to your friends and family, tell them how much they mean to you. And it's one of those things, don't
maybe send a letter to the artist or author for your favorite series. I know a lot of them just love to get those fan letters and to hear directly from the fans about how they've changed their lives. It's something that I've seen interview after interview where they say they love seeing this. It's something that means a lot to them, that really makes it worth it. So if you've got some of those thoughts and feelings, maybe this is a great time to put those down and send them off.
Dear Yoshi P.
You know what? I'm sure he would be very gratified to hear it.
Actually, you're right. He would.
He would.
Speaking of Yoshi P and 14, can continue on there. The news of the 14-hour broadcast, which is scheduled to kind of end the commemoration of the 10-year anniversary of ARR, is scheduled for April 12th. To wrap up their 10-year anniversary celebrations, we're currently preparing a special 14-hour broadcast featuring the members of our development and operations teams. We hope you'll join us and fellow Warriors of Light for a wonderful live stream with festivities of all sorts. They'll have links to the streaming sites. I mean, it's basically going to be their Twitch and their YouTube channels, and probably Nico as well.
Usual.
So that's going to start at 8 p.m. Pacific time on the 12th. So keep that time in mind if you want to check out some of the shenanigans, see if Mr. Atma is going to ride another bull.
I wonder if we'll get more hints dropped about upcoming things for Dawn Trail. Like maybe just like a couple small details just to whet the appetite.
We'll be talking about a little bit of Dawn Trail information in an upcoming news article. So hold on. Speaking of more 14 news, the Final Fantasy XIV Xbox Series X and S version has a release date now. This is going to be coming out on March 21st.
All right, so about a week and a half from when we're recording this program. Right around the corner.
From the Lodestone article, thank you to all who participated in the open beta test. The results are in, and we are pleased to announce the release date for the Xbox Series X and S version of Final Fantasy XIV, Thursday, March 21st, 2024. Furthermore, we're pleased to share that the Final Fantasy XIV Starter Edition, which includes Realm Reborn, Heavensward, and Stormblood, will be available for free as an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate perk for a limited time. New players or seasoned veterans won't want to miss this opportunity. And that's going to be available from the 21st of March till Friday, April 19th. So you've got about a month to collect that reward if you are an Xbox Ultimate Game Pass member.
Nice.
And please note, Xbox Game Pass is required to play online titles like Final Fantasy XIV. But it will not be available in the Xbox Game Pass library.
Yeah, so you're receiving the game as a perk of having, but it's separate from it, which also means that if your Game Pass libraries, well, how would that work?
I think in order to stay current and get the last expansions, you're going to have to purchase those expansions at that point. Which basically,
but I suppose it also doesn't necessarily lock you to the Xbox One if you later decide you want to shift platforms. I know that has generally been a big thing, really trying to avoid having people locked into a platform for that.
Well, as long as you tie it to your Square Enix account, you'll be able to utilize your characters that you have on your account on any of the platforms. Because I currently have it for PlayStation and for PC.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of the expansions. I don't think I have Endwalker for PlayStation, but I think I have up to Shadowbringers.
Oh, it's always such a weird patchwork.
Yeah, I mean, being I don't play it that often, I do want to have it on there, but you know, if I wanted to do some basic stuff, but
yep, I know folks who like to do crafting or the like, and it's easier to do it with a controller on. Or things like that.
Yep. Or if you wanted to do it portably, like on on your phone, you can use remote play on your PlayStation in order to do it. But a lot of people have actually been doing something similar by getting the ARR or getting Final Fantasy to download on their Steam Deck.
Nice.
For those who have the Steam version or PC version.
Please do not attempt to end game raid from a mobile phone.
No, that's
just
not a good idea.
No,
nobody's going to be happy with that. But I mean, if you can successfully get through Uwu on a mobile phone, you know, tell us and we'll report on it.
Also, seek help.
Maybe they just really want to try real hard.
I get challenge runs, but that just feels cruel to the other 7 people.
Speaking of people seeking help, Little Ladies Day and Hatching Tide starts March 14th.
Beautiful transition. Love it.
I mean, because for this event, you're going to be helping out Gili, whatever her name is again. Aliapo, thank you. I didn't copy her name in there. It's just basically she needs help again. So the 2 events are going to be happening concurrently for that 2-week period. But what you want to know is the decorations are going to vary in different locations, city to city, but Limsa and the city's residential districts will be decorated to the following schedule. They'll be decorated for Little Ladies Day from March 14th to the 22nd, and it'll switch to Hatching Tide on the 22nd through April 1st.
Yeah, a little bit unusual. Typically, the festivals run fairly close to each other. Hatching Tide, of course, being based on or similar to Easter, and Little Ladies' Day to the traditional Japanese Girls Festival. I know there have been some people expressing disappointment that the two were going to be combined into a single event this year, since that means fewer of the various specialty holiday rewards.
Yeah.
Some speculation that this is a way to help lighten the load on the developers as they continue to pour as much of their resources as they can into Dawn Trail.
Yep. As well as I think some of the team is working on the DLC for 16 potentially, because I know they share some of the same teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only really real big reward coming from this event is going to be the PD Horn, which is the Gubu Maiden with the little circle of flowers, the crown of flowers on her head. So,
Gubu have gender?
Yes, they specifically said in the item description is a curved horn that, when blown, emits a flowery tone that brings PD, the Gubu Maiden, lumbering to your side.
I guess even a Gubu can be a little lady. Huh. Now I really wanted to have like an umbrella. Like a little parasol kind of thing. Do a coquettish dance. Sing Three Little Maids from School.
I don't know if their little arms can actually hold up.
Gubus have big, long, stretchy arms.
But they're kind of floppy. They just kind of flop down at the sides. They may not be able to hold it up, you know?
Yeah, they might not be able to do the whole coquette thing. Well, that's disappointing.
Also, for some reason, Kane does not want me to say ooh-woo again. Why doesn't he want me to say ooh-woo? What's wrong with ooh-woo?
I don't know. It's very strange that he wouldn't want you to say ooh. It's a perfectly valid set of syllables.
Yeah, nothing wrong with ooh. Ooh.
We maybe shouldn't antagonize him too much. He does give us money.
I think he enjoys it, though. That's kind of why he comes back for it.
Oh, so you're saying that he pays to get ooh-wooed?
Ooh.
That just sounds like something else now.
Yeah.
Oh God, did I just commit slander?
No.
Ooh woo.
All right, and then we have another big piece of info here. Final Fantasy XIV and Final Fantasy XVI will both be at PAX East. This Lodestone article, we'll copy that and copy paste that one. Kane, it's a good thing this isn't a children's show, talking about those floppy arms. See, he's just trolling us. It's all good. Final Fantasy XIV is headed to Boston for PAX East 2024, and they're back to show floor, inviting seasoned veterans to battle against Asura. New adventures to challenge early primal battles, and encouraging everyone to snap a picture in our photo spot. We'll also have some fun giveaways for attendees as well. There will also be panels for both Final Fantasy XIV and Final Fantasy XVI. And they'll be at PAX East from March 21st through Sunday, March 24th. And the Final Fantasy XIV booth will be open throughout the entire show, so be sure to stop by if you're going to be in the area. Alongside booth activities, Naoki Yoshida will also be hosting a Final Fantasy XIV panel on Saturday in the main theater. And thank you so much to Moogle Go Around for the raid. Hope you guys had fun playing Rebirth earlier.
Ooh.
It looks like they were having a lot of fun. I checked in on them as we were starting up here to see what was going on, and saw that they were in the middle of a pitched battle. I didn't jump into it too much because I'm trying to avoid spoilers since I haven't played very much yet. So,
well then, welcome. Glad to have you all here.
Yes. The panel for 14 will be a journey to Dawn Trail, the 10-year adventure of Final Fantasy XIV. Join producer and director Naoki Yoshida as he looks back on Final Fantasy XIV's past 10 years and shares what we can look forward to in Dawn Trail. Warriors of Light won't want to miss the presentation because you never know what Yoshida might have to share.
It's true.
It's going to be on Saturday, March 23rd at 9 a.m. Pacific time or 12 p.m. local time. Panel attendees will also receive a mini poster while supplies last. But if we're not going to be able to make it, they will be streaming it on the official 14 Twitch channel, as well as the PAX East Twitch channel. And the Final Fantasy 16 staff will also be hosting a panel that you don't want to miss. Leviathan, the Not So Lost, is here. Here's what's new in the Final Fantasy 16 DLC, The Rising Tide, where we're going to join Naoki Yoshida, Takeo Kujiraoka, the DLC director, and Koji Fox as they discuss The Rising Tide, the upcoming DLC chapter for Final Fantasy 16. What secrets will surface from the depths? Rumor has it that commemorative Jill pixel pins will wash ashore for all panel attendees. God, that sounds kind of neat.
Nice. Yeah, it's kind of interesting looking at this. For a lot of these types of panels, you often might expect that, hey, it's going to be a little bit of like promotion and advertisement for the upcoming thing. But given that Yoshi P's like his tendency to give us peeks behind the curtain, to really get into like getting into a lot of the weeds and a lot of the interesting behind the scenes stuff, I'm actually looking forward to that a lot. I'm expecting a lot of insights of the type that we don't normally get to hear out of the game industry.
Yeah, I mean, and if you want to see more about that, they're going to be that's going to be on the official Square Enix YouTube channel and Twitch channel, and the official PAX East 2 Twitch channel on Friday, March 22nd at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time or 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. So for those of us who are going to be working that day, maybe we can catch the VOD later.
Mm-hmm.
But that should be kind of fun to see what's going to be going on there. Aside from those panels, like they said, there's going to be the Asura Battle Challenge. Attendees who emerge victorious against Asura, the corrupted incarnation of a Mansuya, will receive an I Beat Asura t-shirt. Available while supplies last and sizes not guaranteed.
The usual. I think I still have my Odin shirt somewhere or another.
And I have my Susano one upstairs from that I got from Gamer Escape.
Classic.
There will be a new player experience area in the Final Fantasy 14 booth, where you'll have a chance for new players to be introduced to the world of Final Fantasy 14, where they prepare a battle against Ifrit, Titan, or Garuda. And should the attendees defeat one of these primals, they'll earn themselves a free copy of the online starter edition for PC, which I believe is like a $20 value.
Yeah. This to largely be a thinly veiled excuse to give away a bunch of starter editions.
Well, I mean,
it's totally fine. I like more power to them. It's a fun way to get people in, give them an idea of what to expect from it. But also, this is clearly a thinly veiled excuse to give away starter editions. Yep. And that's fine.
There will also be a limited number of Dawn Trail themed bucket hats that they'll be giving away. As well as a number of Final Fantasy 14 themed lanyards. So a lot of swag at the 14 booth. So make sure to stop by. That looks like a lot of fun.
I kind of want a Dawn Trail themed bucket hat.
Right? You can go, if you click the link on that article from the Lodestone, it gives images of all of the different giveaways that they have.
I wonder if I could pull off a bucket hat.
I'm sure that I wouldn't be able to pull off this particular bucket hat. My head is too big.
Oh yeah, no, mine is also fairly large. It's a problem.
But it looks like an interesting theme. It's kind of like orangish with maybe a little bit of tie dye.
Oh, there's pictures of it. Let's see.
Yes.
Oh, I do not think I could pull that off.
A little too pastel for you.
I don't usually do colors that bright. Give me more greens and blues. I mean, I do like it. Like, it's a kind of nice change up from the usual color scheme we see for these things. It really is emphasizing that tropical vacation aspect of it. I just would need an entire new wardrobe to make it work.
And Chili, I don't know why you would want to get rid of the poop emoji hat that you have. So
I have a few thoughts.
Some other news from Final Fantasy XIV. The devs have recently confirmed that Endwalker endgame activity will be changing in Dawn Trail. This article comes from GameRant.com and was written by Eric Law. Let me paste that in there. Final Fantasy XIV recently confirmed it would be changing how relic weapons are obtained in Dawn Trail. After a controversially simple series of quests in Endwalker, Final Fantasy XIV fans can expect the Dawn Trail relics to be harder to obtain. Relics are some of the most powerful weapons in their respective expansions. In most cases, obtaining these weapons requires a large amount of time. We all remember the grind with all the Atma stones and everything to get up to Zeta in ARR, right?
Some of us arrived too late for that, and others have purged the experience from their memory.
Well, let me remind you all of that horrific memory. Just kidding.
Nope, purging. You can't hurt me again.
Basically, in Endwalker, Final Fantasy XIV made the Manderville relic weapons easy to obtain with only 1,500 of the basic endgame currency required for each step. Though there are multiple steps, the grind is really pretty easy. As long as you're playing the game, you're going to be able to get your relics, which is why I don't have the relic,
tomestones,
because I haven't been playing.
Yeah, 6,000 I think it ended up being to complete a weapon.
Yeah, so you basically need to but you're still limited in how many you can obtain, right?
No, it's causality, not the comedy. It's the unlimited one.
Okay.
If you are sufficiently grindy, there's you could just yes.
So theoretically, I could work one out in probably the better part of a day, huh?
Yeah. Like that article was not wrong in describing the decision as controversial. I know I heard a lot of different arguments from many different camps on the subject, some of whom liked the idea that they were able to choose what kind of activities they did, and noting that the grind was effectively equivalent most of the time anyways, and it was nice not to be locked into a particular type of activity you didn't like as much. Others feeling that these having as just a straight up, okay, get the tomestones for each one after the initial Manderville quest, made it lose some of the kind of epic feel that you'd had in previous relic quests, where you were gathering unusual materials, going through these exotic processes, all of that. So yeah, I don't know that I would necessarily say it was a bad one. I could see some of the considerations that they were making of it. I absolutely agree that it was controversial, though.
Yeah, in comparison to some versions of the relic, this one might have been just a touch too easy. But I mean, what I applaud the dev team for doing is trying different things to try and make it one of those things where you can either do it at your own pace, or in this case, you could basically grind for it for as quick as you want. I mean, but
in general, the relic weapons have always been grindy in the respect of you need to do content that's not necessarily super difficult, but you need to do a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. Like even when you had to go into Bozja or Eureka, you could there were some options available outside of those areas in order to gain steps on your relic.
Yep. Or for instance, speaking of with Eureka, where you didn't necessarily have to kill Pazuzu repeatedly, you could just get items to turn in for that in its place. Mm-hmm. There were other options that would be slower, but also could be done on a solo basis or on a smaller group basis, or for those who just didn't necessarily want to challenge the difficult fight.
Yeah, just don't bring back 9 books again. Where you had to wait for certain fates, do certain dungeons, and kill.
Look, I feel for all of Rowena's employees, but also no.
So basically,
in fact, I think the Manderville weapons was the first time that Rowena was not involved in any part of the quest.
Well, Godbert basically just took over for Rowena in this case.
Yeah, it was Godbert wanting to remake the relics discussed in various writings of his family.
Okay. Yeah, I remember a little bit about the story, but I thought maybe that was the reason why Rowena sent Geralt out there.
Okay, I think Rowena did send Geralt in, so it might have been, but effectively Rowena had minimal involvement. I'll go ahead and check on that, but It was pretty much almost entirely a Manderville show.
Basically, in an interview with Play Magazine, producer-director Naoki Yoshida confirmed relics will be changing in Dawn Trail. While he pointed out that the easy Endwalker relics made it easier for fans who play multiple jobs to gear up their character, he recognized that some preferred the challenging experiences required to unlock previous relic weapons. He says, quote, "I'm not going to make it exactly the same as it was originally, but I do appreciate that it gives a sense of rewards to the players," Yoshida admitted. He continues on, "We will have various routes in place in terms of methods to enhance the weapons." While he couldn't give specifics, he made it clear it would not be another straightforward currency grind as it was in Endwalker.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. I know they always have had the pay there's an alternate method, but it may be a little bit slower, more onerous. The ones where, for instance, you could do the fates in other regions, but they wouldn't necessarily have as high a drop rate.
Yep, to get those memories.
Yep. Stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Who knows?
Gotcha.
But yeah, again, the fact that they do seem to be exploring and trying to understand what specifically it is that appeals to players, what different types of experiences they're trying to have in it.
Yep. Can definitely.
You said it before, but that is just like consistent strength of the series, of this team, that they do seem to seek this deeper understanding of the game in general and why people play it and what they get out of it.
Yep. And
I'll be interested to see what they do.
I definitely appreciate their willingness to try different things. It makes the game feel that more interactive and that much more alive to the players because their voices are heard.
One from being a carbon copy of the last. It's true.
Exactly. A little bit of Final Fantasy 16 news. The possibility of additional Final Fantasy 16 DLC is not zero, but you shouldn't really expect more. This article is from GameInformer.com and was written by Wesley LeBlanc. While speaking to Final Fantasy XVI producer Naoki Yoshida in Square Enix's Tokyo, Japan offices last year for Game Informer's cover story on the game, this is from the article, he told me there was currently no plans for DLC. However, a few months after the game's June release during the Game Awards 2023, Square Enix revealed Final Fantasy XVI would indeed be getting 2 DLCs. First being Echoes of the Fallen, which was released not that long ago, and the second, The Rising Tide, story-focused DLC about the Leviathan icon currently missing from the game. And he also asked the duo of the team known as Creative Business Unit 3 within Square Enix if they're interested in more DLC for 16. After all, the reason Echoes of the Fallen and The Rising Tide exists is because after seeing the positive reception, the positive comments from fans towards the world of Final Fantasy 16, towards Valisthea, they felt that this may be a good opportunity to revisit the game. And so Yoshida said, while he will never say never, leaving the door ever so slightly open, players probably shouldn't expect more DLC for Final Fantasy 16. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, of course, we don't get to see a lot of the behind-the-scenes sales numbers, other things going into that. I would be curious about what drives that decision, if it's because they don't necessarily think it's going to be worth the return, if there's other projects that they might prefer to be focusing on. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
if we do want to move towards having more frequent releases, then having multiple DLC for a game may not be the way to go on that.
Exactly. I mean, look how long it was between Final Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy 16.
And that had quite a number of episodes going on there.
Mm-hmm. It was,
even though production on some of them got cut off early. Because again, this was something that Yoshi P did talk a bit about, the idea that you're only having one coming out every so often, that you have newer gamers who have only played 1 or 2 because that's how many came out. If you're kind of extending the life artificially with DLC, which there can often be good reasons for, but if you're doing that, one of the consequences is for people who it's not landing with, this is more time for them to drift away.
Yep, especially with every Final Fantasy game being very different from its previous iteration. I mean, not including any sequels to the main number games.
Yeah,
because I mean, if we look at it, I'm assuming that they're probably decently into early development phases for Final Fantasy 17 at this point, where probably storyboarding and trying to figure out world building and then what kind of resources they're going to need to get the game going.
Oh yeah, like you start on that before you've even finished the previous one.
Yeah. So, like I said, they're just probably working on finishing up the Echoes of the Fallen, and then who knows who's going to be in charge of 17. Don't believe Yoshida said he was going to be doing it at this point, but he might be trying to, bring up one of his the people he worked with in 14 or 16 to kind of head that project.
What does he actually want to be doing, anyways?
I remember we talked a little bit about it in previous episodes, so if you want to maybe go back to some show notes there, we can probably find it again.
Well, there we go then. Check out previous episodes for more on that.
But
can't remember which one, so just watch them all.
Yeah, exactly. But if I really hope that, because I remember they were talking about what style they wanted to do, and there was some talks about was it going to be like a 2D HD kind of game, go back to kind of the roots, because the development cycle on those games is much shorter than anything we're looking at currently.
Right. I do remember that was something that speculated. If you are trying to get more stuff out, maybe going to a little bit of that classic style. Yes, I remember we were talking about with Final Fantasy VI and the whole to do a FF7 remake level thing.
Yep. Yeah, that was in the last episode, I believe.
Yes.
And this is one of those things that's not just hitting the developers of Final Fantasy. Every game developer out there is kind of suffering from this particular problem, where game development times have gotten so much bigger that it's that the entire games industry is really at a reset point right now. I listen to a number of gaming podcasts, and just hearing the news day after day, week after week, of all the layoffs that are happening among all these different game developers and publishers. It's, COVID, caused a lot of people to kind of double down on, home entertainment, whether it's movies, streaming services, video games, and the industry is really ramped up to try and produce all of these different things. And now that things are starting to become a little bit more normalized, and things are getting, back to a regular pace out in the world, a lot of that is kind of dwindling down, and we're kind of reaching more to what it should be at level versus what everybody's been projecting, because all this huge growth we had from 2020 on.
Yeah, and there's often a lot of expectations about like how a game will make money, about what constitutes a success,
what types of games out there, whether you're looking at a live service game, a multiplayer game, single player games, what's really going to bring that money in for the developers and the publishers.
Are you going to add a gacha?
God, I hope not. I mean, while I understand those are easy money makers for mobile games like that, it really is one of those things that's not those types of games don't have a lot of lasting value, and we're kind of get into that with this last story we'll talk about here, regarding the end of Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, because that game ended on February 29th, and there was a lot of gacha involved with that in order to
just a week and a half ago.
Where apparently one fan spent 3 years saving all of the scenes from Final Fantasy, from Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia before it shut down. This article was written by Ash Parrish and was from TheVerge.com. So thank you so much for that information. Let me copy paste that. It took 3 years, 2 terabytes, and over 100 hours of cutscenes to preserve Defu. February 29th, like we said, was the last day of service for Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, or Defu, a mobile game based on Square Enix's Final Fantasy fighting game series. Since launching in the US in 2018, the game has amassed over 170 characters from across 30 years of Final Fantasy history, scattered throughout 4 acts, composed of multiple characters and side stories representing hundreds of hours of a game that can no longer be played. Though Opera Omnia is officially gone, one person has shouldered the task to ensure the game hasn't completely disappeared. Now, this is from the person who did it. On June 6th, 2021, I began to work towards my goal of recording and rendering every Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia cutscene and uploading them to YouTube, wrote Hattok, a video editor and self-described video game enthusiast. And now, 7 hours from the end of service, I've reached the end of this massive project. So they cut it to the end.
Yeah, it is. And what? So first off, the fact that this was started in 2021, this was not in response to the game shutting down. It was long before. This just seems to have been in an effort to preserve, to make a record of and preserve and be able to share that storyline. And the depths of detail to which that Haddock devoted to this, truly impressive. Not only did he replay through the entirety of Opera Omnia, recording raw footage, because of course, in addition to the little cutscene sections, you would often have dialogue in battles, other things like that that would include some of those story elements. And Haddock ensured that the scenes that he preserved, he featured characters wielding their canon weapons, and that even the battle scenes, the scenes where you'd have conversation mid-battle, wouldn't be populated with random characters. Which meant that every cutscene needed to be watched twice. Would watch through them once, make note of characters who spoke or otherwise were involved in the scene, and then he would use that to determine, along with the scenes before and after, to figure out which characters should be appearing in a fight in order to keep the narrative going, and where they should be positioned. So some absolutely incredible levels of devotion to creating a consistent narrative experience in that, rather than just recording the scenes and calling it a day.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time playing Defu, and it was a fun game, but the sheer amount of characters that you had to equip, level, and upgrade, it was just to get for him to get to a point where he could get all of those characters through the storyline properly and make it through without having to restart or that just I can't imagine.
I mean, being able to actually clear the relevant fights means that you need to each of these characters, they did add effectively a weapon glamour system, so you could give them strong weapons while having them wield their iconic ones.
Yep,
make sure that Cloud has the Buster Sword kind of thing. But even with that, that's going to be a fair amount of building characters to be able to get through the fights. Oh God, just the sheer, it is deeply impressive to me. I also want to note that Defu was reasonably unique in terms of the cutscenes and story, in that it was really, if you remember the original Dissidia games where you have the main characters, the protagonists and antagonists from Final Fantasy games meeting each other, having interactions, kind of like conversations or other things that would explore some of the themes from their games, give ways to explore their character. Everything all right?
You cut. You were very choppy right there for a bit. Looks like your internet has caught back up. I don't know if it was your internet or my internet.
But you've got something where exploring these characters, and then you expand that to not just the protagonist, but the entire cast, supporting cast, side characters in some cases. It's, as a note, 130 characters, and some of them got reasonably obscure.
170 characters.
170. You had like notable NPCs in some cases. There was just a lot going on with that. And not only that, but taking a lot of these side characters, exploring some of their stories, thinking about how might they interact with each other, what parallels might they find, how might they relate. Like, I am really glad I did, just because I thought there was a lot of interesting character studies. Got an entirely new view of Ultimecia by having her encounter characters from different games, some of whom were a little bit more able to understand her particular struggles. And so you got a little bit more depth on it. Even like some of these formerly flat characters really got a lot of depth.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate everything that the team behind Defu was able to accomplish in, kind of expanding out and fleshing out these characters who didn't maybe have as much on-screen time while we were playing the games. But so it's a lot of fun
if you
to
saw
see.
like some of the side comments and like they made, this was clearly something being made by fans of the games who knew these characters, who knew all these side things about, who could drop little references to all sorts of minor side details. Like it was on some level a labor of love to do this really involved large scale exploration of all these different character stories.
Yeah, and the fact that it went 6 years in the U.S. is that's a
Yep.
hell of a run for that. I want to say the game's still
Yeah.
going in Japan. Is that correct?
I think it did shut down everywhere.
Is it
Actually,
completely shut down now? Okay. But
uh,
it was one of those games. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. It just
yes,
got
both global and Japan shut
okay,
down.
it just got a little bit, I think, too big to really be able to focus on and complete it, you know, for the average person.
Yeah,
Especially
yeah.
if you wanted to get all of the weapons and all of that stuff, you would have to spend a lot of money in a gacha system to try and get that.
I mean, that's not always the issue for a gacha. What did start becoming an issue was in order pretty much the continued added layers of complexity on those hardest endgame fights, needing to add new mechanics, new types of things, having the meta change. It did reach a point where it had become unwieldy, and I think it may have been something where they felt it was just no longer sustainable.
Yeah.
That was the impression I got from the stuff I had been reading about it.
And you were more into the metagaming of that than a lot of people I know, myself included.
Oh yeah.
So
I am very familiar with a lot of stuff, which is why I can talk so much about the different cutscenes, about some of the fights, all of that. Uh, yeah. Also, just as a librarian, as someone who cares a lot about like archiving materials preservation, this is something where we talked before. I think we actually did have a thing where we were talking about that person who downloaded all of those games from the Nintendo eShop. And this is another type of thing where we are only getting this particular work saved because of the efforts of a fan.
yeah, I mean,
Which I mean, I'm very glad for them. The work they're doing is incredible. I should check if they have a Patreon or something so I can throw some money at them. But also, it's a little disappointing that we have to count on devoted fans in order to record these effectively cultural events and phenomena.
though I will say the internet is getting better at you know, trying to preserve some of these digital games.
But it's still something where you need to have some generally devoted fan who cares about it and can lead the effort.
Yeah.
Like the fact that the owner of the original property doesn't have as much of an interest in doing it is a little bit disappointing, and it's always a little harrowing that it has to be left up to, is there a sufficiently devoted fan?
And then the problem that could arise from that is if, you know, if the fan does try and do that and the company gets wind of it and they're particularly litigious, they could end up sending a cease and desist letter or suing said fan for you know, trying to, you know, capitalize on their intellectual property, even though they're just trying to save it for everybody else to be able to see.
I mean, not necessarily. It might be that the person who has an interest in saving it is someone who also sees it as a money-making op. Not every person who does this is going to be a pure, selfless hero.
No, I completely
Which is another
understand
reason.
that.
Which is another reason that I don't love it being left up to who happens to get to it.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, for those who are trying to do it and try and make a little money while doing that, at least to either cover costs of the work or even make a couple bucks on it for doing it.
I mean, is that a thing where the preservation is left to the province of those who have the resources to do it independently? Does this mean that the stuff that gets saved is stuff that the right rich people happen to like? I am not turning this into a library science course. I am not turning this into a library science course.
But it does.
But, oh my god! Oh my god! All the archival issues are all there.
Yeah, it brings up a lot of different questions that we really need to look at if we want to really think about preserving, you know, things that we find culturally relevant, you know, when it comes to the video game space, especially since things are becoming extremely digital and, you know, the physical media is disappearing in a lot of places.
Yeah, I thought it was bad enough when it was okay, we have this cartridge for a system and find a thing to play it on, and all that. I thought that was enough of a challenge, and now you just have games as a service that vanish entirely unless someone happens to be lucky enough or have the prescience to start recording it years before a shutdown was even announced.
Yeah. The fact,
what a lucky break.
Exactly, that they were able to get everything they needed saved and captured before service ended. I mean, they were within hours of closure of the game.
Really? Okay, I did not know it. I mean, I'm sure they like stepped up their efforts once the shutdown was announced, but being able to take the time to do that specialized versions where you're like, God, to see the notebooks or to see whatever things they made to keep track of, okay, what characters do you want to be using? This, again, very high effort, very high fidelity thing, the sheer amount that it took. And if it was something where it was a scramble at the last minute, you're going to get this lower quality preservation as a result of it. Oh, I have so many librarian feelings right now. I just finished a week of librarian intensity. I don't need it here too.
I'm just trying to see if I can find
Oh.
Hatak's YouTube channel here,
Yeah.
but I might have to. Oh, it looks like it might be Game Sharks. Is that his channel that he put all the Defu stuff on? Give me just a second here.
Yes, here we are. Yes, I see his tweet where 7 hours from the end of service, he's reached the... some of it is still in the process of uploading by September of this year. So yes, Game Sharks is the channel where that's going.
All right, let me copy paste that here for you guys. If you want to give them a follow, you know, the more followers they get, more subscribers they can get, you know, it might help to monetize some of their videos. And so as you're watching them, it might help to cover some of the costs involved with that. So.
Yeah. There's a lot of other videos, articles, analysis. Looks like a lot of good stuff here. All right, save this.
Yep. So give them a follow. Let them know Phoenix Down Radio sent you. Maybe they'll send some people our way too. So
yes, they do have a Patreon. Excellent.
So yeah, support.
That is a surprisingly sexy shark. What the hell?
Oh my. All right, that kind of covers our gaming community news. Let's get into a real basic discussion about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You did play the demo, correct?
Yes.
So
I did at least get to enjoy that much.
And really, the game that's where the game starts. Is it starts with the demo?
Sweet. I played the first few hours. Then.
Yes, you did. Nice thing about how that all played out. Oh, the graphics were just chef's kiss. Like it's a beautiful game to look at. And
only one objection so far, they absolutely should have just called that chapter The Calm Before the Storm. It would have been perfect. Missed opportunity there, fuckers.
You just go ahead and write to Koji Fox and tell him that, and he'll be like, I tried to get that, but they wouldn't let me. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that.
There is more than one punster on their localization teams, let me tell you.
But he was the lead localization.
Okay.
So it falls on him.
Got it.
Got that, Koji? Calling you out.
Also, you're listening to us? That's awesome.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Hi. But I am about 7 hours into the game, so I really don't have a ton of playtime, but there is so much to do in this game. There is an absolute ton. I've been delving into kind of the world building portions of it, where you're helping Chadley out to explore different areas. Like I'm exploring the grasslands area outside of Calm, and between there and the where they got the chocobo farm and stuff like that.
Right. It's interesting that you have all this stuff that we, in the original game, we didn't necessarily get as much information on, that was really expanded on in a lot of the compilation of Final Fantasy VII works. And then they've been able to kind of like bring it all together, bring it into a unified theme, develop it even further. Because like that original experience of playing FF7, we didn't have all this stuff. We didn't have all this knowledge. It's something that we've come to know and understand for a lot of those small details. And having it all as one integrated thing really just kind of takes that feeling of this. It's not just the game we originally played, but the world that we came to know over time.
Yeah, and I really love that. In Rebirth, we get to really explore that world in depth. The open worldness of it, it's beautiful to run through. The terrain is varied. It is, it's not all just linear. There are paths, to follow. It's well done. I am really happy with the time and effort the development team put into building out the actual outside world. They did a pretty good job of getting Midgard laid out, even in the original game, but especially in remake. And then
there was always stuff about Mount Nebel that felt like, okay, this is a dungeon. They've put like things to make it a mountain and whatnot, but this is a dungeon. And playing it in Rebirth, it's like, no, this is an actual mountain.
It still reminded me a bit of Final Fantasy X/13 gameplay, where it was a little more linear in that aspect. But it was wide open. You could explore a little bit of the areas.
You also generally can't free climb mountains very well either.
No.
There do tend to be limited. And just like in terms of like the appearance of stuff, in terms of how the environments fit together, it really did feel a lot more like this is an actual environment that they've set this thing in, rather than, okay, this is clearly a dungeon that they've just put a mountain face on.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It feels great. The gameplay is fabulous. It works well. It's a very well done hallway.
I mean, yeah. Also, like, some of the stuff is just fenced off by Shinra. That was one of the things I remember in the original one. There was just all these mountain paths and here you see a lot more of the hand of Shinra. It becomes a lot more clear that this is an active site that they are developing and running their various things on and it really does feel a lot more. There's a whole thing of like Nibelheim has effectively become a company town where Shinra has set up all this stuff and you really felt their presence a lot more.
Yep. And then as you get past...
I really felt a lot more like this is Shinra's mountain that they've established all this stuff on.
Yep. And when you get past that and you get into chapter 2, where I'm kind of playing at right now, we're learning so much more about the area. We didn't know much about the history pre-Shinra of these little towns outside. But we're learning a whole bunch of different things. I'm not going to spoil anything, but we're seeing infrastructure. Yeah. We're seeing roads and buildings and technology pre-Shinra. And they talk about it in the game as we go through different side quests and learn about things. It's really fascinating. And
that
I'm really
was definitely
enjoying
a thing in the original. You had like, okay, there's Corel. Corel's the mining town, all that. But it was just like we see. It was something where it felt like this is what they are now, and they have been dropped into the world as this. The idea that you can see the fingerprints of their past on them, that you can see those elements, that is something that was kind of missing from the original. And so if they've managed to get that in there, that I think really does again enhance that feeling of it as, okay, this is an actual world it's taking place in. I love that. I am looking forward to that now.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm really appreciating the world building that we're getting with it. Chadley's a little bit annoying, but it fits. He's sending you out to learn more about the world, which allows us as the player to learn all of that. But then for doing that, we get different little currencies and the ability to buy and create special materia, all that cool stuff. So I mean, it makes the quests worthwhile so far. And there are a number of mini games that are a lot of fun. I haven't gotten to the Gold Saucer yet, but I have played a few games of Queen's Blood. And it is one of those games where I can see why the player base is split on it. It's actually quite an interesting game once you really get to sit down and play it. It's on a 3 high by 5 wide board, and you have a deck of 15 cards that you can play with, and you draw 5 cards to start, and then you get to play your things. And I'm not going to explain the gameplay portion of it because it takes a little bit of nuance and to really understand it. It took me quite a while to actually understand it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Thinking about it, well, go ahead and finish on Queen's Blood. There's a point that the thing you talked about that I want to circle back because it's actually interesting.
What I was going to kind of finish up with on it is it has the potential to be a very well thought out and strategic card game. And like I said, I want you to play it first before we get more in depth on that. And then I think you and I can really have a fun discussion on how to really maximize your Queen's Blood deck.
I was just thinking you were talking about the whole thing with Chadley. I was recalling one of the things that with the original FF7 that I had not seen at the time was kind of interesting was in a lot of RPGs you would have like a newbie hall that you would go to and like experienced elders would teach you things that would be explaining the game mechanics. And FF7 turned that on its head because Cloud is supposed to be this super skilled, experienced soldier. And so like when you went to the newbie halls, all the people there were like, oh my gosh, this guy's the real deal. And it was cast as Cloud explaining these things to them. And so continuing that with having Chadley as this person who, for various reasons, which I think they got into in Remake, doesn't know as much about the world, is interested in learning more. He's kind of this fresh set of eyes that could be the proxy for the player, still allowing the others to be like, yeah, we like Cloud's ostensibly been around the block a few times. He's seen parts of the world. He should be a bit knowledgeable. And here's someone who is the complete newbie who can act as the stand-in for the player to have someone to explain it to. Given that, again, FF7 was, so far as I can tell, one of the first games where they actually turned that entire dynamic on its head. The fact that they're continuing that, I don't know if it's at all intentional, but it does feel like a kind of neat tribute to that aspect of it.
But here's the thing. Has Cloud really been around the block a few times?
Well, sure, but you're not supposed to know that yet.
Has he?
You're not supposed to know that yet.
And I don't know if this was explained.
And also, Cloud does have military experience, even if it's not the type he's originally claiming.
No, and I'm trying to remember if this was explained in Remake, but in Rebirth, I'm just trying to figure out what. Okay, fine, Chili. It maybe not the best way to word that. Has he been around the block?
I mean, we all saw the honeybee in.
Yeah, it's true. But
anyway,
in Rebirth, Chadley, when Chadley comes back into the storyline, he says, "Sorry if this is minor spoilers for people. I don't think it's a huge deal. He is a creation of Hojo."
Yes, that was something that was mentioned in Remake. If you managed to do, if you complete all of his side quests, you learn about that.
Yes. But so that's why he is, wanting to learn about all these things, because he wants to know why he was created. I'm sure, the whole existential crisis of why am I here?
Because Hojo is being Hojo.
But maybe a way to, figure out how to counteract some of the negative things Hojo did in his lab. And learn about the actual world out there, because the only experience he had was in Midgar, and now that we've left, he decided he's going to do the same thing, and he's going to and we're going to be partners.
We've already been that good at giving him information and experience about the world. Makes sense that he'd want to keep going.
Yeah, but so far, with the 7 or so hours that I've played of the game, I'm really enjoying it, and I want to play a lot more, and I will as time permits. I don't think I'll be finishing it anytime soon. I'm gonna sit and enjoy it. I really think if you have not yet picked up your copy of Rebirth and you have been thinking about it, now is a good time to do it. It's great. It's a really good game, but I do highly recommend, if you have not yet, also upgrade your PS5 and get that extra hard drive in there. You're going to want the space. If you have questions on which ones to get, message me in the Discord. I'll be more than happy to give you a couple of links to 2 terabyte drives you can get on Amazon for like $120.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not that expensive. When they first came out, they were almost $300 for 2 terabytes, but it's really come down. You can get a
I may be
decent drive.
you up for that after the show.
Yeah, I will be more than happy to share. If you want, we can put it in the Final Fantasy channel or something like that. But more than happy
Seems
to help you
appropriate.
guys out. Do you have any other thoughts that you wanted to give regarding your time in the demo of Rebirth? But still, it's legitimate gameplay.
Not a lot at the moment. We talked a little bit about it before, and I don't think I have a lot to add. The only other thing I'll note is that they seem to have just as many mimetic moments, if not more. The picture of Aerith and Barrett's combined attack thing has definitely been making the rounds, where the both of them pop on the sunglasses.
I have not had a synergy attack with them. I have been working.
Both of them pop on sunglasses for it. It is a beautiful thing.
I've been doing some of the simulator training. I beat Titan in the in Chadley Simulator and was able to get the Titan summon.
Yes.
But
like, that is kind of the thing. I think a thing that a lot of people have forgotten about FF7. It was like a super weird, chaotic game at the time. You got, like, all of a sudden, like, you finish this boss fight, and now you're doing a mini game where you're filling your lungs with air to perform artificial respiration on this drowned girl. Like, there was a lot of weird stuff happening, some of which may not necessarily have come through because of the localization, but so in the fact that they are continuing to like have these extremely memeable moments, that they're really playing up there's some ridiculous stuff going on here. It really feels in the spirit of the original in a way that I had not initially appreciated.
All right. Any final thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Or was that basically your final?
I feel like I just shared them. I think I'm good there.
Perfect.
I will save the rest until I actually know what I'm talking about. It's a new thing I'm trying.
Yes. So we're going to make this episode a little bit shorter. Just remember, for those of you listening live, daylight savings times happens 2 a.m. So roll your clocks forward. We lose an hour of sleep tonight. I know that kind of sucks, but
yeah,
it is what it is. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like, subscribe, or follow us out on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or whatever your preferred podcatcher is. And if possible, leave us a rating and review. It helps other people to find our show and lets us know how we're doing. If you really dig the show, you can consider subscribing to us here at twitch.tv/PhoenixStarRadio, where you get access to a number of subscriber-only emotes and badges. Or you can go out to patreon.com/PhoenixStarRadio and support us like our benevolent overlord Rory Fenrir or our resident slacker Nicknar. All proceeds we get there goes towards growing the show, cover things like hosting costs, allow us to improve and upgrade equipment, as well as do fun things like contests and giveaways. I am still wanting to do a giveaway where we can give one lucky supporter a copy of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So if you're interested in that, or you have other ideas of things we can do, let us know, because we do want to have some kind of fun like that. But any kind of support, whether it's emails, likes, tweets, subs, follows, donations, whatever it is, they're all greatly appreciated, because we really do enjoy interacting with you guys and the rest of the community. If you want to check out our backlog of podcasts, you can go out to our website, PhoenixStarRadio.com. If you have questions, comments, suggestions, just want to say hi, you can always email us, podcast@PhoenixStarRadio.com. We will read all your emails, within reason.
I am not buying boner pills from you people. Don't even try. I already have a source. I mean, what?
Like I said, we try and do this every other Saturday night. Like I said, this month is going to be at 9:30 p.m. because Sarah's working on Saturdays. So
I was the person in charge for most of the day. What's even happening there?
It's crazy. But I think
weirdly enough, I'm good at it, which is even more concerning.
I think in April we'll be able to go back to our normal 8 p.m. / 5 p.m. Time frame. So every other month for right now, we're going to be switching back and forth. So keep tabs on the Discord or on the Twitch sites to when we go live.
We always love to have you. If not, well, we've always got the podcast recording.
Exactly.
However you want to support us, we appreciate every single bit of it. Thank you all for being here.
We greatly appreciate all of your guys' support. Any shout outs, Seyrr?
Ooh, I'll go ahead and give shout outs to, again, I've done it before, but my Criterion group, Tom, Simone, Austin, Harrison. We sub in based on who's available any given night. You all are awesome. I love laughing and dying and pulling off stupid shenanigans with you. Thanks for so many amazing times. Looking forward to many more.
And I want to shout out Seyrr for being an amazing co-host. Shout out to my girlfriend for letting me do this every other Saturday night and watch the dog while I'm sitting down here discussing video games with y'all. Shout outs to everybody who is watching us live here or listens to the podcast or however you're checking us out. You are the reason we're doing this, so thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. And we invite you all to join us in our Discord channel. You can go to phoenixdownradio.com and you can click up in the address or up in the header bar. You'll find a link to our Discord there. Feel free to stop in and join us. Have some fun discussions about Final Fantasy and share some of your stories. Have some interesting conversations with other people who really love the game, and it just be part of a really fun and active community.
Mm-hmm.
So for my co-host Seyrr Tomono, I am Klauss Nightbringer, wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you later. Take care.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is the copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/Guilty Gear Rock You. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.